Hello everyone and welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we are talking about the biggest bombastic release of 2021 thus far, which is Godzilla vs. Kong. And this is going to be a spoiler review because, you know, a lot of people already have their non-spoiler reviews out for this film already, and it's coming out on HBO Max as well as theaters, so I figured it's going to be a lot more available to people. So I just wanted to talk about spoilers in this movie because it's just pure dumb fun, and I want to talk about certain things. Really, I just want to talk about the third act of this movie because it is just exactly what I wanted from the title of this movie. So a little preface before I get into this. Yesterday I watched every single one of these movies. I watched Godzilla, Kong Skull Island, and I watched Godzilla King of the Monsters. And funny stories, on the way to Godzilla King of the Monsters, I actually got in a pretty bad car accident when that movie was coming out. And then I finally got to see the movie, and it was really disappointing. It was not worth me getting in the car accident. So I've always had a kind of a hatred for that movie for several reasons. I think the biggest problem with these movies in general is the human characters, and I think Godzilla King of the Monsters was the biggest offense to that. But I do really enjoy the 2014 Godzilla movie. I still think that might be my favorite next to this one. I don't know. I think I could go back and forth on those two. And then Kong Skull Island is really, really dumb, but it has some awesome Kong action in that movie. And then Godzilla King of the Monsters has its fun moments, has some great, screenshotable moments of CGI spectacle and some great monster fights in that film, but it is so convoluted with the ridiculous plots and the characters that I just absolutely despise in that movie. And this movie finds a way to get a decent balance between the two because the character stories in this movie are not infuriatingly stupid like they were in that movie there, which is, you know what, it's an upgrade. I'll take it for this movie. So this film actually mostly follows Kong for the most part. It has Rebecca Hall and then Alexander Skarsgård and then this little girl, I don't know the name of the actress, but it's really about them trying to take Kong into a new home because they have this facility built around his little area on Skull Island, which is kind of cool because the Kong movie that we got took place in like the 70s, I believe. And so to jump back into the current day time that we have been in these Godzilla movies is interesting because now we get to see where Kong has been this entire time. They've had him in containment and he's not been really happy with it. He's kind of like in a Hunger Games type of dome and he's throwing trees at the edge of it to try to break out, and they put him on a ship and they ship him off to get into the hollow earth, this area within the earth, like Journey to the Center of the Earth type style movie. And it's a fairly entertaining plot because you have Kong now directly in contact with other characters. And the good thing about Kong in this movie, which I really appreciated, is the fact that, there's only so many things you can do with Godzilla because he's just a giant lizard. You can't really be too expressive with a character like that. But for Kong, because it is a character like, it has some more emotional moments and beats in this movie, you can really attach yourself to this character. So I think it was a smart choice by the filmmakers to make Kong essentially the protagonist of this movie because Godzilla is attacking these different facilities for various reasons that they are trying to build up in mystery, but for the most part Kong is being guided by these characters and is forming a connection with this little girl, and they're trying to get him to a new home. And so that's essentially the main story of this movie. And then you have returning cast member of Millie Bobby Brown in this movie, along with Juilian Dennison from Deadpool 2 and The Hunt for the Wilder People, along with Brian Tyree Henry, and they're kind of on like a mystery type of investigation. Brian Tyree Henry plays this podcast host that is trying to uncover these essentially conspiracy theories about these monsters, which I thought was, he was entertaining enough. I think a lot of the humor in this movie kind of fell flat a little bit. I think the moments where I was actually laughing is the stupid moments where like Godzilla backhands Kong, which was just, that's exactly what I want to watch on a big screen. I don't know what else to say to that, but this mystery that those characters were being on was at least somewhat intriguing because I didn't know where this movie was going. I think I heard little rumblings that possibly MechaGodzilla could be in this movie, and it was kind of apparent that that's where they're going to go with it, and I was very pleased with where this storyline ended up being because it led to an awesome third act. And so again, with the characters following around Kong and trying to lead him to a new home, and then you have these characters trying to uncover this mystery behind this, I think it's called like the Axiom or whatever the company was called. There's always some evil corporation in these type of movies, but that mystery behind that and them trying to create this MechaGodzilla to take out Godzilla was, it at least had a curve and an arc that led to an awesome third act, even though the characters themselves are not really interesting. And it's funny because every single character in this movie has like a tragic death in their family that is their entire backstory. This character has a dead mom. This character has a dead both parents. This character has a dead brother. This character has a dead wife. It's just, everybody has dead some things in this movie, and it's very funny because the first act of this movie just keeps on repeating that type of line. It's like, oh, I lost this person for whatever reason. Of course, we got to see Millie Bobby Brown's mom die in the last movie, and just these different beats that they have setting up these characters that are just completely pointless. But that's all besides the point, because the movie is called Godzilla vs. Kong, and to get into the actual action sequences of this movie, I found the three main ones very, very entertaining. First of all, you have the entire one that takes place on like the giant aircraft carriers that you see in the trailers and the posters and all that, and this scene was awesome. Like I said, you have Kong punching Godzilla in the face, and then Godzilla takes back and backhands Kong, and that is just cinematic masterpiece. That's beautiful filmmaking. I don't know what else to say about it, but I think Adam Wingard, who's the director of this film, did a good job directing this film, because you get the scale of the monsters, and these action sequences don't feel tiresome like they did in Godzilla King of the Monsters, because that movie has so many, frenetic action sequences with these giant characters, and you kind of lost the sense of scale, and the fact that it kept on bouncing to the human characters within the fight themselves, it just didn't really work. In this movie, you get to see full-on action sequences without hardly ever cutting to the human characters. Yes, you get to see they're like in like the aircraft carrier upside down and they're like drowning, and it gets a couple cuts over to that, but for the most parts the camera focuses on these monsters, and you feel the scale of them, you feel their punches, you feel everything about that, especially when you watch it on the big screen. You feel those moments. And of course, throughout this entire movie, I was rooting for Kong, because Kong is my guy, and like I said at the beginning of the review, you can't really do much with a giant lizard emotionless character besides him shooting out this plasma breath or whatever that is and exploding radiation like in the past couple movies. And again, luckily in this film there's no government military guys shooting nuclear bombs at the monsters, because of course that didn't work the first 5 times, so let's do it again. So there's none of that stupidity in this film. But of course I was rooting for Kong because he has that emotional attachment, and you kind of root for this guy naturally in this film, and he gets his ass beat in that first action sequence. He gets crushed, and so there's like 3 rounds essentially in this movie, and round 1 definitely goes to Godzilla, unfortunately, but round 2, when they get into Tokyo, Hong Kong, when they're in Hong Kong and they're having this amazing action sequence that is just exactly what I was promised from the trailers, first of all, but it's exactly what I wanted with the epic music and everything going on. This action sequence was really, really entertaining, and after Kong had gone into the hollow earth and seen this amazing landscape, this beautiful CGI landscape that you have in this movie, and he gets that axe with the fin of like one of the Godzilla creatures, and he's using that against Godzilla, and he completely crushes Godzilla in this scene. And there round 2, they even say round 2 goes to Kong, and it's a very cheesy line, it's very stupid, but it really does. It's round 2 goes to Kong, and I was really happy about that. But then it quickly goes into round 3, they kind of shake it off, and you have different things going on underground with MechaGodzilla and setting that stuff up, but you get one last clash between these 2 characters, and in the end, the winner is Godzilla. He gets him down, he gets him pinned down to the ground, and they both like scream at each other's faces. You almost get it almost felt like a Martha moment from Batman versus Superman. They're just kind of looking at each other, and then Godzilla decides to just step away and let him slowly die his death instead of, just burning his face off. And then of course things go wrong with that company making MechaGodzilla, and the AI takes over and it can't be controlled anymore. So MechaGodzilla gets loose and starts wrecking everything, and you have the human characters trying to like shut him down via like the computer, and this Juilian kid needs to find a password, and it's like like you're going to be able to shut this thing down just by guessing a random password, and how in the world are you going to guess this guy's random password? It was really dumb. But the point is, MechaGodzilla gets out and they start fighting Godzilla, and this fight was really, really cool to see. I'm not really sure how I feel about the design of MechaGodzilla. I think he looks a little different enough from Godzilla to make himself really differential, but some of the abilities that he's able to do with him, like twisting his arms or blasting these things out of his hands, and his tail having this ability, and then of course that red plasma beam that he shoots versus Godzilla's blue plasma beam, and they kind of have a Harry Potter moment where those plasma beams clash, and it's just glorious CGI spectacle that is just amazing. And then that entire fight ends up, you have the human characters trying to revive Kong because Kong is down, and Godzilla is doing the best he can, but MechaGodzilla is crushing the poor guy and just absolutely smacking Godzilla around left and right. And again, the last 40 minutes of this movie is pretty much non-stop monster on monster action, and MechaGodzilla getting introduced into the end of this movie was a very, very good thing to bring those two characters together. Kong and Godzilla, of course, team up after he's revived by this ship that Alexander Skarsgård is trying to, use as a defibrillator. And he gets back, he's revived, and then he just teams up with Godzilla, and then you get just the ending of the movie, which is just glorious. So Godzilla might be crowned the winner for the whole Godzilla vs. Kong title of the movie, but when you have Kong coming at the end and just completely wipe out MechaGodzilla, you have Kong taking out the thing that took out Godzilla. So does that mean by default Kong is actually more powerful than Godzilla, or is it just, the teamwork that made the dream work type of thing? I don't know. Take your picks in the comments down below, I guess. But it was very satisfying to see Kong just completely slice this guy, like limb after limb after limb after limb, and then ripping his head off and just screaming and roaring into the sky. It was very, very satisfying. You get one more little standoff look between those two characters as they both walk off into their, prospective sunsets. Godzilla swims down into the ocean back into his little home area, and then Kong gets to go into the Hollow Earth and be the king of that entire area. And so the movie does end off as Godzilla is kind of the god of the Earth, essentially, of the main outside world, but Kong is the king of the monsters, essentially, down underground where all these different creatures were. And I think that's the biggest missed opportunity in this movie, was they never went down in that area with this cool gravity flipping thing and fought there. They never did that, and that was extremely disappointing. Kong took out these two dinosaur looking things down there halfway through the movie, and that was a cool action sequence, I guess, but it just was... There could have been so many cool things and visual things that they could have done with the action, with gravity flipping back and forth, and it could have been very disorienting, but it could have been epic. And honestly, after this point, I really don't know what they can do with these characters. I think it wrapped up enough. There's enough epic moments and entertaining moments in this movie. The human characters aren't too intrusive and annoying. So overall, my experience of watching this movie was fairly positive. I enjoyed the hell out of this movie. And the last 40 minutes was just phenomenal. So what did you guys think of Godzilla vs. Kong? Did it live up to your expectations? And how would you rank them? I honestly think as of right now, maybe I need to watch this movie again to exactly see if it is my number one of all the movies, even though I think they all range from 7 out of 10 at best. But I think the original Godzilla in 2014 is probably my favorite still, closely followed by Godzilla vs. Kong, and then Kong Skull Island being number 3, and then Godzilla King of the Monsters being the last place because... who was it? Vera Farmiga in that movie was just awful. And Charles Dance, what was he doing in that movie? I really, really don't. Do I have a review of that on this channel? I think I might have a review up for that channel. So maybe I'll link it also in the description or in the little iCard over there. So thanks guys for watching this video. Subscribe to the channel to see a bunch of reviews on the channel. I'm going to be starting my Oscar series come up here, and I'm going to review a bunch of the movies nominated for different categories, Best Picture, Actress, Actor, all these different things. So thanks guys for watching this video, and I hope to see you all in my next one.